I wasn't so happy on the East Coast. It was so busy and so many people. And on the West Coast, I found more comfort in life. It was big mountains, the desert, ocean, a lot of open land, big sky. So it just seemed more natural for me to move over to the West Coast. And so I started practicing all kinds of things, you know, healing, yoga, kung fu. And one day, a friend of mine gave me a book. And the first time I saw the book, I asked my friend John, I have to have this book. And it turned out to be Zhuan Falun, which is the core text of Falun Gong, or Falun Dafa. And I read that book all night long, and boy, my mind was illuminated, and my heart was illuminated. And I felt a lot of pieces of my life all came together just by reading this book. And so I embarked on a new journey in life. I was a practitioner of Falun Gong. You know, my whole life, I always felt like I'm doing something. I'd play sports, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day. It was a little bit extreme. And just doing. I never had time to rest. Even when I practiced things like Tai Chi and yoga, it was always still about doing something, watching this, watching the breathe, watching this. And when I learned Falun Gong for the first time in my life, I was thrilled about simplicity and easiness and naturalness. It was about non-doing instead of doing. One unique thing I really felt so wonderful about Falun Gong is bringing people together. And I can only talk about my experience. It's like when I was around 14, 15, 16, at that time, I really didn't want to spend time with my mother or my father. I wanted to be with the boys. It was kind of maybe embarrassing to be with my parents, at least for me, in my childhood. And in China, it was so wonderful. You hear stories about the families all coming back together, meaning like the grandparents, the parents' children, and then the children's all practicing together. They're practicing exercises together, maybe they're cooking food together, and I was just so touched because I didn't have that in my life. And that is just testifies to the beauty of Jen Shen Ren, which is truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. You don't see that anymore in society, right? I was offered to come to Thailand and Hong Kong to help out. When I found out that people, just for practicing Falun Gong, they're tortured in slave labor camps, they go to mental institutions, they force them in there, they feed them drugs, and they torture them to death. It's just so awful. I had an opportunity to go there to expose the persecution to the Chinese tourists, to talk to the Chinese tourists, and to give them information as well, because in China they can only get one side of the information, because everything in China is blocked. The internet's blocked, the TVs are blocked, the radios are blocked. It's all run by the CCP. But the CCP is the one doing the persecution and the torture. So the Chinese people are hopeless. They have no way to get any information. I spent about 6 months there, and it was very touching. I had about 120 pictures, and every day I would go to a place called the Jade Buddha. It's a place where the Chinese tourists come by thousands every day, and they would look at all the information that we had, and they would be in tears, some of the people, and then I would be in tears. It was very touching, and I was there all day long, and it was well worth my my time. You know, if I had to do it, I would do it all over again too, you know. You know, Hong Kong is a very dynamic city. I feel a very special place, and I keep coming back here. I think because it's got the blend of maybe the European and the Chinese blend here. I feel it's my responsibility to share what I know with the Chinese tourists, yes, and let them know about the persecution. We call it Pohai. At the beginning, I noticed the Chinese tourists had a lot of fear, and they maybe weren't believing at first, but now the Chinese people really want to know what's going on in their own country. I didn't notice, but back in Germany, during the Hitler days, when he was, you know, he killed all the Jewish people, right? The people in Germany didn't even know what was going on. Everything was behind closed doors. So the people in Germany were left in the darkness. How could you kill 7 million people and not know? Likewise, the same thing is happening in China. Many people are clueless about the persecution. And also, China is such a big country, right? And to get the information is very difficult. And everything is controlled by the CCP. So even if you do know the truth, maybe you're afraid to talk about the truth, because if they find out, they may kill you or put you in jail, because in China the laws are so strict. Everybody is monitored. Now the cell phones are monitored, and they have a CCP member even in the villages, so people are very cautious about what they say in China. So this brings me back to why I came to Hong Kong, because I felt it was a very great opportunity to come here. Not everybody can just leave and come to Hong Kong. I'm very fortunate. I have not so many responsibilities in America, and so I was able to come here. I think it's because of the collective efforts of all the practitioners around the world really giving their best in and trying to help to end this, this brutal persecution of just kind-hearted people who just want to practice Falun Gong exercises in the park in China and just want to read Falun Gong books and try to practice Jen Shen Ren and put that into their daily lives. And so many people at the Peak in Hong Kong, the tourists talk to me all the time. And one common experience is they are fascinated that I practice Falun Gong. Because the Chinese Communist Party, otherwise known as the CCP, tells the Chinese people that all over the world Falun Gong is illegal and people don't practice Falun Gong. But when they see me practicing Falun Gong and I tell them, no, we practice freely all over the world, they understand that I'm telling the truth and the CCP is lying. If you have so many people practicing, that means there's so many loved ones or relatives being persecuted. So we had no choice, right? In the beginning, we wrote many letters to the government of China. We just asked them that we wanted a place to practice in the parks. That's all we wanted, was a place to freely practice Falun Gong and read Falun Gong books. Very simple. But no, they had to kill these people, right? So then we had no choice. We can't just let people die. We can't let your son just be in a slave labor camp and just do nothing about it. What are we supposed to do? So we took that role of doing human rights. And then as the years progressed, we became more active in human rights.